you keep pushing, the P pushes down that energy, that information from the unconscious self, higher self, whatever terms you want to use, the support system. Do you follow? Mm-hmm. And so you develop trust when you learn how to tune in and say, how do I feel about this? What do I want to do about it? Not, should I do it, or is this the right time, or is Spirit advising me, or whatever. What do you want to do? And you must make time to listen to that inner. This is what we talk about, being more self-referral. Because, Karen, isn't it more empowering?
No,
to go to yourself than to have to go and say, well, I think I'll go to the psychic this afternoon, or go here, go there, whatever. It just cuts you off.
And the more victories you have, and the more times you trust yourself and then realize that something worked out well, it just builds and builds on the trust.
Because you learn how to listen. And you learn that it's not your P that's making the decision. Your P says, how does my third chakra feel? And you learn to go in and you learn to be your own source. And if you don't do it, it's pure laziness. It takes time. It takes quiet, yes?
Yeah.
It's why we say garden. Mm-hmm. With no noisy tools. But you rake and you dig and you hoe and plant and haul, and you are using the physical body, but the mind then starts to move, and nature gives you many, many answers. Many, many answers. Animals, for people who are close to animals. We're not talking about barking little pets and mewing kitties and goldfish in a bowl. They're talking farms, people who work with animals, also develop high psychic abilities. That trust of inner knowing. It's essential. It's absolutely essential. Make us proud, as we said. Who has some comment or insight about what's going on?
I have a comment.
Yes, Roger.
Since everybody's spoken.
Yes, that's very gentlemanly of you.
Last night I was out with a friend and got some ice cream, and we had cups of ice cream, and walked out of the ice cream place, and we're talking, and she stepped down the 3 steps, and I simply walked off the porch. Turns out that...
Were you walking on air, Roger?
Turns out that my stumbling, once I realized there was nothing under me, I was still looking at the ice cream because I didn't have time to look anywhere. And I actually walked down the stairs in my stumble and kept up with her. And it was as if nothing happened, and yet I really got to thinking how serious that could have been.
Yeah.
And yet, because it was like 3 steps, it might have been 18 to 20 inches. And yet what happened is my feet just landed exactly in the right places, and as if I had walked down the stairs. And it still gets me that I was not observant enough to recognize what happened, and at the same time trusting that it worked out.
Good. And that's the lesson. It says, right, so it says, ooh, I really wasn't aware. And yet another part said, well, we covered it for you. All right?
First time I'd actually thought about a guardian angel.
Yes, and the whole exercise is that it brought your attention to something. Now that does not mean that you can bumble around forever and the guardian angel is always going to be there. But it shows you that it was saying, we covered you this time. But pay attention. Look where you are going, all of you. Pay attention, look around. And often you will be covered. But if you haven't covered territory yourself, and you've been in denial about things, or really left a big tattering thing around thinking, oh well, it'll be this or it'll be this, this is the test, this is the reckoning. And as we said, this phase of the test, about 2 years. How's that? I know you all like to, we all know you all like to know how long and when, and your logical minds like to have some idea. And Sue's giggling, so she must feel good about the test.
I do.
Good.
But also, I was just thinking, last night I went to a high school theater, and it was comedy, and my youngest son was in the first. It was 2 acts. Each were 1 act, and it was about people meeting online, but then meeting someplace in public. And so there was 2 main characters. They would each meet different characters. And the name of the play was Check Please. And one of the blind dates was a woman who forgot her medication. And when she forgot her medication, several personalities came out. And
this was part of the play.
It was part of the play. And they did it very well. And it was high school students, and I enjoyed it. It made me laugh.
Well, so it sounds like you have a theatrical family there.
Yes, I do.
And that would be something along the lines of Time as well. Because whenever there's a little bit of a flowering in a certain area within a little cluster of people, whether it is a group like this or your bloodline or whatever, that comes through from other lifetimes, and giving you clues here, because you're going to tell us timeline stories, or not I dreamt this and this, or I think this, but we want to see in the second part what you can sense not only in your own personal timelines and the equinox timelines, but how are the threads being woven politically in the mundane world, in the economic world, geophysical, all the things that are changing. You know, right now the Pope's under fire.
Yeah.
What is his name? Benedict XVI or something. And of course he's all befuddled and apologizing and saying, gee, that didn't happen on my watch, etc., when all the evidence is quite contrary. And some of the largest acknowledged areas of pedophilia have been, of course, in Ireland. And the Irish have been up in arms about this, rightly so, for a long, long time. The abuse was going on from the 30s to the 90s. So the church is failing, and many institutions are failing, and this will get uglier. And the whole sexual misuse of energy in politics, in religion, in sexual magic, in sport, in Hollywood, in people's lives everywhere, this will be unraveled in very, very unpleasant, ugly fashion. We ask you now, when it comes to understanding the misuse of sexual energy, it can be recognized in a number of ways. There's usually secrecy, there's abuse, meaning that it is not consensual, there's inappropriateness, either with children or animals, there's shame, and in general it's an addiction from family, runs in the bloodline, and the bloodline then would bring it through the lines of time. These things are going to come out in shocking ways to the public, and create even more despair and dismay. We ask you to hold the space open and to understand that all things that are being exposed, wherever they are needed to be exposed so they can be examined and be healed. We've said these words over the years many times, but now you are at this juncture point when things will be fast and furious. It won't just be one scandal here and one there. There'll be so much. And we want you to recognize not just the tidbits or the salacious details of this and that, but to step back and to see the larger pattern. Just like in your own life, step back, look at the pattern, and recognize that all that does not work is falling away. And many things must be exposed so that people wake up to begin to value their own bodies, their own lives, and to realize the waves of disturbed beings and corruption that have come to the planet. There are many ways to express sexuality. The sexuality must be done with adults, consensual and loving. Sexual energy is psychic energy at its rawest. Sexual energy is the height of creativity and power. And so, of course, it is, as all these power things are going on, everyone's going to have to deal with the dark side of sex. It's not hidden anymore, it's everywhere. You will see children doing very crazy things sexually. You will see people go nuts sexually And if you think you've seen something now, it's all going to hang out in its ugliness so that people can recognize how many types of consciousness are contributing to the power of the nanosecond.